Hi, my name is Andrea, and my full name is Pabalo Andrea Joshua Kokonga, and I'm from South Africa. And I am South African Xhosa. That's my traditional thing. So I'm 100% Xhosa. I do know Espanol, I do know French, and then I do know Xhosa and English. I am trying to learn way more languages, but yeah, that's not my story yet. I kind of grew up in a place where people always were scrutinizing everything I did. So everything I did all my life was always wrong. And this is before I found cinema, because I wasn't always into cinema. Before I was painting, ever since I was a kid, really. And just drawing some really interpersonal things, and expressing who I am as a human being. So that was what I always did, like all my life, really just trying to find a medium to overcompensate how I really feel. So like you had my school experiences in like primary school, where I was like that cool kid, the gangster at the back, like, oh yeah, you're weird, the bullies, how the bullies are designed in like TV and stuff. I had my times where I was that cool kid, but then like through high school I had to kind of like figure out who I really am. And that's when I knew like I'm an artist. So I started my journey in this art sphere, started out in poetry. So I started writing poetry right now, I've probably been writing poetry for 6 years. So poetry was what brought me into music. So then I used to write a lot of poems to get girls. So that's a funny story. But I used to always write. I love writing. Everything within me was about writing. So then I stepped into expressing myself too. I had my times where I felt like I'm not cool enough to be around people or whatever, or I can't be in that circle because I speak the way I speak, or I am the way I am, or I express my emotions how I express them. So I've obviously had like identity issues like all my life, really. So until I came out to LA, I really found who I am, because I'm far from everyone. I don't have family out here, so I'm the only one here in my family tree to be overseas. So I figure that's a very heavy thing. So me out here, I'm like, my success is not only mine, but it's their success too. And not only their success, but generations to come. So the only reason I want to contribute to cinema every day is because I want to be able to inspire kids that are not, kids that feel the way I've been feeling, you know what I mean? So really, I love cinema as a device to just compartmentalize how I feel. But with cinema, it's everything to me, because there's a lot of things I've been going through. Being in LA, it's been the most horrendous experience, really. Like, I know people back home who would probably say, nah, I'm going back to Africa within months, like within a month. Like, I know like the people I grew up with would have left LA like long ago, but I'm here because it's like I care about movies,
I feel that.
Yeah, so it's like, I keep telling people, even for the podcast, I'm gonna be honest and transparent, as I like to tell people all the time, it's the most difficult times ever, just going through shooting. I'd go travel 4 hours to shoot one video. That would give me like $50. So, and that $50 I had to pay for like me getting back, all sorts of stuff. So essentially, like, you guys, for people watching this, I'm not living the most bougie life. I'm living a really hard life. So, but what pushes me here to sit down in this place to have this conversation is the fact that I want to be able to inspire someone else. So more than anything, I wish I had people that I could look at and say, if he did it, I'm gonna do it too. So I figured I'm gonna create that, a platform for people too. So ever since I've been in LA, there's people that are like 50, 60, 70, and then 40, and they're like, I wish I did what you're doing right now. I wish I could make movies. I wish I could have that creative edge. And as I tell people all the time, what I want to do is just like express my ideas now. Like every single time, it's like, if I have an idea off the top of my head, I have to execute it. Because I know that time can be your best friend, but it can be your worst enemy too. Because it's in time you realize who's real and who's fake. And for me personally, it's like I've gone through so much like here and so much back home, and I'm gonna keep going through even worse. But as long as I'm filming, I'm happy. So now we're getting into music,
But that's what's up.
Yeah.
You talked about people that you like look up to. Who are those people that you look up to?
Well, Jordan Peele is the person who brought me into cinema. So, yeah, funny story. So, I was back home, saw that the motherland. And then it was during COVID-19, and I kind of had an existential crisis in the sense where I didn't know what I wanted to do. Because there was times in my grades used to be terrible before I found like, oh yeah, I want to do this. So then this is before I got my GED. So my GED was like the moments where I was like, okay, I want to move to America and I want to study film. And then all of a sudden I became a straight A student. So I was like, oh, so I am a nerd after all. After all these years, I used to get like 20%, 30%. Now all of a sudden it's like 95. And then my parents are just like, wow, we used to this now. This is, you're just a nerd. And I'm like, yeah. Because I remember they used to tell me like, if you can get 60% for this test, I'm telling you, I'm gonna treat you. Bro, I've been getting 95s time and time again. They ain't give me nothing, bro. But that's shout out to my mom. I hope, yeah, you listening. But and then so then COVID-19 came, so I'm sitting down, and then it was like around like 10 p.m. like late night, I'm sitting down, and then I see this movie called Us, which is this 2019 film. Mm-hmm. And then essentially, for people that might not know, it's a film about doppelgangers essentially running into a tethered version of yourself, which was a company name that I came up with at first. I literally named it Tethered Rabbit Productions to Tethered Rabbit Productions to essentially broadcast the idea that in darkness you find the duality within, which essentially compartmentalized to A Night's Kiss, so everything comes full circle anyway. But that was the name because of that one movie. So then I'm watching this movie and then I'm realizing that, this character is kind of going through seeing her other version and she's not really happy with her other version. She's trying to put that version away, right? So I figured it's the same thing with life too. There's always that like darkness that we try to shield and we say, well, I hate that side of me. You know what I mean? We all hate certain demographics of who we are, you know what I mean? So for me, I picked it up on cinema, like with Jordan Peele. That one film made me like really have like this whole like, wow, what do I hate about myself? Like, and who am I? And what am I? So then I started watching behind the scenes videos, like all of them. And then I saw Jordan Peele talking about movies, and it's full circle because I used to watch Key and Peele growing up all my life. So kind of seeing him making movies now, it's like, this guy's, he's it. So then after that, I started going into a huge spiral of cinema, and I studied films from like 1920 all the way to now, pretty much. Then I opened the film page, Goksoon Cinema, and in the film page, and Goksoon translates to the Wailing. So it's named after a film that I watched in 2016, which is a Japanese film. Also, essentially going to what the message is of the brand, A Night's Kiss, the fact that in darkness you find spectrums of light. So everything really comes full circle, really. Everything I do, it just comes to, that focal point. But yeah, anyway, I found the film and then I realized movies is everything I love. So back home, my hustle was I wake up at like 5 a.m. And then I had these books, I still have them. I brought them with me to America. I have to find them though, they're around. But I used to write these books to study cinema before film school. So I studied everything. I would walk like, it'll probably be like 20 miles or 10 miles equivalent to print one piece of paper. And that one piece of paper was like a scene. So then I'm studying the color, I'm studying like the focal points, everything. So that's how I used to study cinema before. And then I'll study about like, in that book, like I have pictures of like different directors and then them growing up, like autobiographies really. And I studied everything about cinema before I came to school. So then, this is all just because I'm like, Jordan Peele changed my life. He made me about movies now. So if he made me about movies, I'm gonna get into movies then. And then it was the journey of coming to America, just like Eddie Murphy. Pun intended. But it was crazy because it's the hardest thing ever because you see like hundreds of people in that line and they all want to move to America. So there's a United States Embassy And I'm like waiting in this line. There's like 200, 300 people in front of me, and you see like a lot of people get rejected. They hold out like these orange cards, and that orange card expresses that they're not going to make it to go overseas. So I'm at the back of the line. You can't have your phones, so it's like a cult in that sense. You can't communicate with the outside world. You're there, and I'm nervous because it's like, damn, there's like so many people getting rejected. And I'm like, I do not want to be rejected. I gotta.
Why would they get rejected?
It's a lot of things. Like specifically with the United States, it's all about like, can you afford to be here, or like, what are you coming here for? Like those kind of things. So people would be like, the United States Embassy would be like, you can't afford to be there, so you can't go. And then they really just shut you down like that, real fast. Like I know hundreds of people that want to be where I'm at right now. So that's why I know like it's a blessing to be here. Even though I've had my misfortunes and I still do, it's like, at least I'm here. So, millions of people around the world want to be crossing the border, but they can't. There's just something that's stopping them. But yeah, craziest experience. I'm standing in the line, and then I'm standing and I'm seeing so many people like get emotional that they're not gonna make it. And I'm like, I don't know nothing about this. I'm literally, I don't know. Like I just went there and I spoke to the guy, and then as soon as I started speaking, I was like, yeah, I want to go to America to study movies, and I gave him the whole talk. I was like, yeah, I'm all about movies, and yeah, pretty much I forgot one major thing, like one of the ways that we're gonna cover like pain and all that. So then it was like, then I had to email. Then I was scared to email because then that means that it's gonna be a longer process. The emails, the junk folder and all that. And I was like, okay, I'll email it to you. And then I went outside, I emailed it ASAP, and then 2-3 days later I got my passport with the US stamp on it. I'm like, damn, so I'm really going to America now.
Yes, you going.
It is the craziest feeling in the world, man. I was like, I'm officially going to America.
That's awesome.
And yeah, really, the flight experience is amazing though. It's because LA is the first place I've ever been to overseas. So that's a fun fact, yeah.
LAX?
Yeah. So this is how it was. So we flew from from Johannesburg, where I grew up. I grew up in Johannesburg, the city of gold, which is what it's called. And anyway, so I grew up there, and then what am I saying? I'm not talking about backstory. So back to the story that I'm talking about now. No, I was talking about growing up there. So we flew from Johannesburg to Paris. So I'm seeing Paris for the first time. I'm in that airport. I'm like, ooh, I'm in Paris and everything, cozy in Paris. And I was by myself because my parents are like back home and everything. So I'm like, cool. I'm experiencing Paris for the first time ever. Greatest feeling ever. Like we're literally just in the airport, just sitting there, standing there. That's all it was.
You said who are you with?
By myself.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I'm here by myself, dude. I don't know family like that.
Oh, okay.
So literally I was like in that plane, and I was like, I have a goal here, and kind of have to go to America by myself, like with everything. I have to take care of myself. So it's been tough, you know what I mean?
So how did you, I know we're talking to you about your experience, but
Right.
It's kind of cool. So just know that, how did you get started? So you get off the plane, you got an acceptance letter to go to
the
film
whole
school, but how
US
do you even start? Like, what's your first month in this country?
First month was more so like I chilled with my friends that I've networked with online. So I did network with a couple of people because I wanted to be smart about coming to America. I didn't want to just come here not knowing no one. So I kind of had my friends, and then we chilled up in Uplands. So shout out to Ariel and Jake. But yeah, those are the first people I chilled with from here, yeah. And then we literally just connected that same time, and then we made this whole anthology series that I've kind of been building on ever since. Like the anthology series is called Monochrome Dreams. So
what do you mean anthology series? I haven't.
Okay. Let me just explain it. So an anthology series is like Guillermo del Toro's The Cabinet. So what it is like, I know a perfect reference point. Rod Serling's Twilight Zone. You see how that was done? With like hundreds of episodes, basically.
So you're talking about like some movie, TV shows?
So yeah, so like basically,
shot something?
Yes. So what we did, we just shot like basically just test footage. And then we shot the test footage, and then I got in my editing bag, and I was like, it could be test footage, but it could also be a story.
Is that something that like we can see?
Yeah.
Like it's on the website, it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube at A Night's Kiss. It's on YouTube.
Right.
It's on YouTube. So the whole thing was like, my philosophy is like, how do you create a story out of nothing?
Yeah.
And I love just doing that, and I had the best fun in terms of the sounds. I love sounds, really. In cinema, that's like my favorite part, really, experiencing the sound from the speakers. And you have really good sound, and you're sitting in the theater and you're just immersing yourself in that experience. That's a top experience for me. So sound is everything. So anyway, I'm just like adding different sounds to it, and then it sounded really amazing in the end. And then my friends added their sauce too, and then it became something. I was like, guys, we could make this something to create for different people too, to also just make their own monochrome dream. And essentially, monochrome dream is just it's also again tying with the Night's Kiss, this whole darkness thing. It's all because I'm just really trying to be optimistic in a sense. So I know people they see horror as like, oh, horror is dark, it's terrible. But for me, it's like, well, when you go through horror as an actual person, how do you define that?
Right.
So
what does it look like?
How does it look like, exactly? So that's how I created a whole series. And essentially, there's a lot of writers right now that are just writing scripts for it, so it's cool.
That's so awesome.
Then I made the animation. Dude, this whole trip to America's been crazy, actually. Yeah, I'm thinking about it now. Like, I've never actually sat down and said, damn. Because I'm even trying to say, like,